Now, President Trump needs to step up. And I'm talking about DEI. And I want to say this for the record. No human being should be discriminated on the typical demographic characteristics, race, national origin, political beliefs, religious beliefs, or non-beliefs. Doesn't matter. You should not be discriminated against in any fashion. But there also shouldn't be general categorization of fault finding based on race. And there is and exists at Arizona State University such a situation. In fact, I'm going to go through the document with you and the subsequent lawsuit from an ASU professor. And if you think, well, that's just Arizona. No, it's not. And I hope that you're paying very, very close attention to what I'm saying because Trump, because of civil service protections, has not been able to rid himself of many of the bureaucratic deep state lunatics that's mission seems to be to divide and conquer. They don't want us to be on the same page. They don't want white people, black people, Hispanic people, people of all types banding together to try to get a more responsible government that's actually there to serve the people, not take advantage of the people and try to separate them from their money. And increasingly, that's what's happening. Oh, yeah, you see what's happened in Illinois with regard to car insurance? And mileage taxes, oh baby, wait till we get to this one because government's on a mission to spy on everything you do with flock cameras and axon cameras. And now they want to separate you from your money in any way possible. And then on top of that, they want to divide and conquer so we can't unite to fight against this and divide us along racial lines. This is wrong. And also, too, they're attacking Christians. That's right, Arizona State and the Arizona border regions. I'm going to go through this with you, and you're just going to say, oh, gosh, I cannot believe this is still happening in America, and particularly under Trump. And by the way, what Arizona State is doing violates Arizona law. I can't believe that they're getting away with it. Well, they may not much longer, but the Democratic, liberal controlled lower courts in Arizona have said it's okay to discriminate against white people. Substitute any race for white people. It's not okay to discriminate against anybody. And I've warned you people as Christians, you're going to face increasing difficulty. The Bible tells us this is going to happen, and we're seeing real evidence that it's going to happen. I just I'm beside myself on this. Anyway, we have a great sponsor here, and you have heard me and seen me talk about these products over and over and over and over again. And it's the Nanosoma liquid spray. Restores your immune system. It's the joint resolution gel, as I like to call it. Rub it on your joints. Took me 6 to 8 weeks to get full relief, and I could start doing physical things again. And also, then you have, well, by the way, it grows pluripotent stem cells. And then you have the skin cream that treats cuts and burns. Everybody should have these products, particularly if you're worried about the supply chain and we're going back into war and you know how that game works. And then China controls a lot of our medications. Why take the chance? Stock up today. The Nanosoma liquid spray, I credit with saving my life when I had strep lung linings from RSV and a prognosis said, Dave, they're not coming back. Well, they came back stronger than ever. And I'm telling you, you can have the same miracle. Go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. I'm going to go to a document here, and I'm not going to necessarily put it up on screen, but I do want to talk about the implications here because there are nationwide implications from the new applications of DEI. Um, they're kind of changing their focus and they're moving into things like education, and they're basically browbeating students, browbeating faculty, and it's humiliating at Arizona State to be a white person. Have you ever heard me say something like that in the 19 years I've been doing this? Have you ever heard me say this? No, but it's true. And it's not being perpetrated by any particular race. It's an ideology. See, it's not like, okay, if I was an ASU professor, I'd be maligned because of my race. I'd have to admit guilt. And it's not someone from another race doing this to me. Like I said, it is political and ideological, and it's Democratic Party stuff. There's no question about it. So we're going to actually take you into the document here, and I'm going to tell you what's in it, and then we're going to talk about the subsequent lawsuit that's arising out of this. I'm going to refer here. It's titled here, Arizona State's University's primary DEI related employee training called Inclusive Communities, sometimes framed as DEIB, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. It's been mandatory for faculty and staff with periodic retraining. The most completely publicly available versions are out there for you to get publicly if you want to look at it. I've given you enough info that you can search it and find it. Now, there is a lawsuit that's come out of this, and I'll kind of jump to the end and then backtrack. The Goldwater Institute is um, filing lawsuit on behalf of Professor Owen Anderson, a philosophy and religious professor, saying that his rights are violated, and we're going to get into why they say that's the case. And gosh, I just shake my head that this stuff is existing. Listen, slavery, scourge upon America's history. Jim Crow, same thing. But this is no different than Jim Crow. Certainly not slavery, but it is labeling. And there are implications that arise out of this too that are, they work against the detriment of a particular group of people. Um, I'm looking at the lawsuit right here. It's Owen Anderson, a resident of Arizona, and D.L. Ladd Gustafson, a resident of Arizona. They're the plaintiffs, and they are suing the Arizona Board of Regents, and they're the ones that oversee Arizona's colleges and universities. And the Goldwater Institute is the plaintiff on behalf of these parties, and they are represented by Stacy Skankey, Skankey, please no jokes, Parker Jackson. Okay, and this is the Center for Constitutional Litigation of the Goldwater Institute in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'll just read here for the very first few sentences here. The lawsuit seeks declaratory and injunctive relief against Arizona Board of Regents, which has used and is now using public money to prepare and disseminate mandatory faculty and staff training for its employees that presents forms of blame or judgment on the basis of race, ethnicity, or sex in violation of state law. And it's true. I researched this. It is violation of Arizona revised statutes. This lawsuit further seeks declaratory and injunctive relief for compelling the speech of public employees by requiring faculty and staff to take an examination following a training that presents forms of blame or judgment on the basis of race, ethnicity, or sex, and answer with Arizona State University's correct answers in violation of the Arizona Constitution. That's just the tip of the iceberg on the lawsuit, but I just wanted to read to you to give you the idea that this is the real deal here. This isn't made up clickbait nonsense. Um, what materials are covered based on documents? And I'm going to highlight because it would take me forever to go through this. This training is extensive. I've gone through FERPA training, which is basically, protecting privacy of rights of students and so forth. And it probably took me 15, 20 minutes. This training, I would estimate, probably takes you about 3 hours. Talk about brainwashing. Okay, now, white people are assigned superior power, privilege, and act with bias. Okay? No one obeys me because I'm white. And listen, if this was directed at another group, I'd be talking about this as well. As you know, I have championed women's rights. White supremacy is a structural phenomena, and it is now normalized. I would agree in the past with that, but the civil rights laws of America prevent this. You hear and see all these disclaimers at the end of advertisements, corporate announcements. We so and so corporation doesn't discriminate on the basis of race, sex, blah, blah. Okay, well, you know that we say this all the time, and the courts have upheld this. Is this really necessary now? Um, they talk about terms like white privilege. Okay, so white people get to go to the front of the line. This is wrong. And this is what the lawsuit's about here. White fragility, critiques of whiteness. You have a white attitude. I mean, these are phrases that come out of this. You have systemic or unconscious bias. So you may not mean to be a racist, but you are. And you also have, and they say this too, microaggressions. So the way that you maybe look at someone, your viewing of someone is a micro expression of racism. And you, as a white person, would look at someone as, from a different ethnicity than you with a different kind of look. Hmm. Okay. Tell that to people who have married outside their race. Exactly. Um, they call this heteronormativity. I've never heard of this. Never heard of this. And then they link heterosexuality as a privileged class. And I'll grant you, in the past. But if you discriminate now based on sexual preference, that's actionable. So I don't know why this is here. This is okay. And they also say this, their purpose is to decolonize the university from white rule. Well, who's going to be the colonizers then? This is kind of what this implies to me. This is nonsense. If someone acts in an inappropriate way and uses racially pejorative terms against someone, then they should be dealt with in an employment basis. This is why you have HR. This is why you have employee reviews. But this takes an entire class of people, faculty and students, and you do the same thing. It's amazing. They talk about equity versus equality. Equality is racist, equity is where we need to go. And so this gets back into the idea that we should have race-based hiring, okay, that is normative. And in fact, by the way, too, they also talk about privilege. Well, who should go first? Well, we should make up for the past sins. And so they say that, if you're a white person, get to the end of the line. This is, again, people, this is the left, in my opinion, dividing and conquering. Most people don't have time in their life to be racist. I know I don't. I know you probably don't. And if someone acts like a decent human being and you like them, you don't care what their race is. You don't care about their background. You're going to associate with them. And if someone turns you off for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be about race. It might be just you personally just don't like them. But you're not allowed to not like someone and disassociate from them. Are you allowed to discriminate? Of course not. Okay, next. Not only do they want to decolonize the university, they want transformative justice. In other words, forget the laws. Race will be the primary determinant of how we adjudicate. Just, I'm beside myself. But see, if this was just written as a document from, say, AOC or somebody like this, I would just say they're entitled to their view, as wacky as I might see it. But this is from the Board of Regents that governs all universities and colleges in Arizona, and Arizona State is emphatically and happily enforcing this. And they're punishing people who don't want to participate in this. And they punish students on essays. This is one thing the professor said in an interview I watched with him on local channel Fox 10, in which Professor Anderson said, look, students have come to me and they've thanked me, but they say they have lower grades on essays if they don't take the quote woke view. This would be a woke view. Okay, the training is followed by a quiz. The released materials show that certain answers are designated as correct, affirming concepts such as systemic unconscious bias by white people, the need for DEIB in every facet of the university. Oh my gosh. Okay, now training has been the subject of litigation, alleges it violates Arizona Statute 41-1494 that restricts certain kinds of race, ethnicity, sex-based blame, or judgment training funded by the state. Key phrase, funded by the state. And this is a state university. A DOJ Title VI investigation to ASU's DEI practices was announced in June of 2026. Public records requests can be submitted through ASU's Next Request portal if you want updated material. So you can get your hand on the real thing, and I wanted to make sure that you had the ability to get that into your possession. Okay, now there's a few implications here I want to cover with you before we go. Okay, moral and practical responsibility of how we treat people is assigned along a collective, not an individual responsibility. In other words, if John Doe uses a racial epithet towards someone, doesn't matter what group it is, but he does it, it's inappropriate. And it could certainly be considered to violate professional codes of conduct, student codes of conduct, and if there's action behind it, it's a violation of the Federal Civil Rights Act, right? Okay? We agree on that. But here's what it is. That's an individual responsibility for the person. They're the ones that can be terminated, disciplined, suspended, expelled, whatever it would be. It's individual. But listen to what they say here. This is collective, not individual. So if John Doe does something, then Dave Hodges is somehow associated with this because of our similarity in skin color. Um, Psychological and social effects. Encouragement of racial self-consciousness and guilt among whites needs to be encouraged. Framing of ordinary interactions, questions about background comments or appearance, etc., as potential microaggressions or racism. So I'd be afraid to say to someone, "That's a nice dress. You look nice today." I don't even say that stuff now because I'm aware of cases where someone's made a totally innocent an attempt to make a nice comment and it's been turned back on them. So you just don't do it. Um, Framing of ordinary interactions. Okay. Well, if you address someone in the way they look at all, you're guilty. Reduced emphasis on shared national identity or universal individual rights in favor of group-based analysis. There we go with that collectivism. And by the way, this is very communist. Whenever you deal with collectivism, whether it's responsibility or rights or lack thereof, or uniformity of action, communism is permeated by the concept of collectivism. They discourage individuality, freedom of expression. Look at the Chinese people. I mean, we would really struggle, most of us in that society, for that reason. But this is exactly what Arizona State is trying to bring to its students and faculty. Um, They say that white people are engaged in heightened intergroup distrust as one group is cast as perpetual oppressor and others as perpetual victims. And this is the one thing the professor said in that interview that I watched on Channel 10. He said, I am categorized as an oppressor for no other reason, not by what I said or what I've done or who I associate with, by virtue of the fact that I'm white. Now, here's the bad news on this. This case went to district court, state district court here, Superior Court in Arizona. And the judges said, the plaintiffs don't have standing. So you're forced to admit guilt to something that really, under the law, could be the basis for termination, and you don't have standing to challenge that? Well, this has now been appealed. This is what the court case is about to the state Supreme Court. And God bless the Goldwater Institute. Let me just say this too. Okay, the people that came up with this are nothing but troublemakers. We have laws that protect the equality of people. And I'll come back to this. We talk about the fact we defend God, family, country here, right? If we turned to Jesus and emulated godlike behavior, we did our best to follow the Ten Commandments, and we love one another, we don't have to do this woke nonsense. It is wrong to categorize. If one person of a race commits a crime, does that mean the whole race is guilty? No, of course not. That's stupid. Well, this is in the same light. We just need to be kind to each other, understanding, and if you disagree, do so politely or just don't engage. It's simple. Microaggressions? Are you kidding? So when I saw Michael Jordan make just a jaw-dropping dunk, I'm white, Michael's black, arguably the best player ever in the history of the game, and you watch him go up and just tomahawk slam that ball through, and I'm got my jaw down to my feet. Is that a microaggression or is that a sign of shock and admiration? It's all in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? That's my point. Be nice to one another, America. Good luck to this professor in the lawsuit. I hope he prevails so we can just get down to treating each other like people. Remember that song from Sunday school? Jesus loves all the children, yellow, black, and white. Don't ask me to sing it, but do you remember that song? It was real popular in Sunday school. We sang it for a lot of years. That should be our guiding light, not this nonsense. I'm Dave Hodges. God bless all of you. We'll see you back here next time here on the Common Sense Show.